Welcome back, people, to Let's Play Eschalon. Today, we're gonna do a bit of a special episode, story time episode. But before that, I want to talk a bit about the Let's Play in general. If you were one of the ones that watched the previous episode, you might have noticed that the quality was complete ass. Now, I didn't know that because I would always review the videos like on my computer, like from the original recordings. I wouldn't see or check the quality once it was up on YouTube, which turned out to be quite a bad idea because this game, it runs in 800 by 600 resolution, which, you know, was a pretty common resolution way back when, but nowadays not so much. So YouTube doesn't recognize that resolution. They recognize 720 and 480. And 600, which is what this game runs at, it's right in between there. So what happened was YouTube realized that the resolution was off and then downscaled it to 480. Now YouTube does a pretty shit job of downscaling. And so what I had to do to fix it, fortunately, I had all the original files. Was I had to just upscale them to 720p and render them at that resolution, and then YouTube accepts them and don't fuck with them. Now, it's not perfect. There is some quality loss, but it's the best alternative that I have, and yeah, so the older episodes, they're now deleted and gone. So if you were any of the ones that commented and liked on those older videos, I thank you so much, but your comments are now in the void of the internet. Sorry about that, but I think in the end the quality upgrade justifies it. So with that said, let's continue on with story time. The sage of Eschalon has informed me that something in here is worthy of my attention, and I do not yet know what it is. So I figured, you know what? Perfect time for story time. Let's read Benny and the Dragon. See, Benny knew he shouldn't keep it. If his mother and father found it, they would dash it upon the ground without a second thought, and probably give him a lashing that he wouldn't forget for months. Still, it was beautiful, dense and leathery. The egg was pleasing to cradle in Benny's arms. It seemed to produce its own warmth, and occasionally, Benny felt something inside move. The colors of the egg changed as well, from a spotted purple appearance to the sunlight. From a spotted purple appearance in the sunlight to a deep green when indoors. And in the darkest conditions, Benny swore he could see the egg glow faintly from within. 2 nights in a row, he slept with it under his blankets, and it gave him much happiness. Oh shit, that sounds dirty. He held it close and talked to it, reassuring the egg that he would not let any harm come to it. By the end of the week, Benny noticed a change in the egg. Its shell grew thinner, more flexible, and whatever was inside seemed to grow more restless. Fearful still to tell his parents, but having no intention of getting rid of it, instead kept the egg under his bed in a wooden box filled with straw, while he tended the fields with his father during the day. This seemed to be a good solution at first, but on the second day, Benny returned home to discover something startling had occurred while he was away. And that's it. Oh, well, that was anticlimactic. Oh, right, we got a history of Theramore. Let's save that for last, because that sounds like a boring book. So you guys might want to skip that. Let's read of Men and Giants instead. A historical account of the enslavement of giants in Theramore by Mars Burcham. The giants of Theramore, now predominantly residing in the Timberland Plains area, are not native to the region of Theramore. It was the enslaved of these beings for work in the mines, enslavement of these beings for work in the mines that brought them here. First, a note concerning giants. They are not the feeble-minded creatures of popular conception. They are, in fact, highly socialized beings equal to that of men or elves, though perhaps their primitive speech patterns and rituals make them appear less civilized. It was this prejudice that led to the giants' enslavement and eventual revolt of the race of giants. During the late 2nd century, great multitudes of giants were brought from the lands beyond Beria and forced to work the mines, smashing rock and carrying ore. Their captors thought them as nothing more than animals and often worked them to death. Oof. However, as their numbers increased, the giants began to secretly organize a rebellion. By the time their captors knew of this plot, the giants had grown too numerous and unified to be suppressed. The revolt of 477 was a bloody uprising that ended with the freedom of the enslaved giants. Hundreds of humans were killed in the rebellion. Although many to this day harbor ill feelings towards the giants, others now acknowledge the giants' right to freedom and no longer hold them responsible for the bloodshed incurred during the revolt. The giants themselves remain suspicious of humans and choose to stay in the lands they claimed after the revolt, though their numbers have steadily dwindled, as many have left to return to their native homelands. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so let's see here. We also got some other stuff. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd sealed note we've read. The portal instruction we've read before. This was, yeah, to Michael, the priest. I haven't been able to do anything with that letter yet. Let's see, this journal entry. After scouting several different areas, I think the pit area is the best place to store my valuables until order is restored in the region. The salamanders won't disturb the chests. Oh yes, this was where we found the cap of intelligence. I suppose this dude should have worn that instead of stashing it away. Okay. Right. This here is an alchemy thing. So let's read the bloodstained note. Hagbard, don't forget. Once I make it to the Lonely Spirits Tavern in Blackwater. Oh yeah, Foosgrumpf. I know. We've read that one as well. So it has to be the history of Theramore then. This hefty tome recounts the early years of Theramore's history in exhausting detail. Thankfully, the first chapter is an abridged timeline of events covered within the book. Chapter 1. An abridged historical events concerning Theramore, Eastern province of Eschalon. Okay, so I guess Eschalon is the world, then. Cool. Never knew that until now. Let's see here, year 390. Dwarven explorer Koru Keyhammer reaches the eastern lands now known as Theramore, and reports of vast natural resources and deposits of gold, ore, and gemstones. Year 405. The first permanent settlement, called Lone Loft, is established in the mountains of western Theramore. Its founders are primarily miners and surveyors. Year 409. Lone Loft's settlers report that they have encountered a peaceful race of subterranean peoples known as the Orakur. They are described as dwarvish in build, but more adapted for permanent life underground, with large eyes and little hair. Oh, really? Year 419. Skirmishes arise over the control of the mines, as the Orakur claim the settlers are stealing minerals from what they refer to as the Great Underground. By year 423, these small skirmishes escalated into war, later to be called the Plague Wars. Dwarven settlers sign an accord absolving themselves from warring with the Orakur because of a perceived kinship. Because of this accord, the Dwarven people abandon their claims and leave Theramore. Theramore forever becomes predominantly occupied by the race of men. Huh. That's interesting. The Great Underground. Sounds mysterious. Year 425. While mining for copper, a settler named Sam of Thoribur discovers a massive gemstone that would become known as the Crux of Ages. Oops, I think that's that one. It might be. Because of the ongoing conflict with the Orakur, the rough stone is hidden away in Bastion Spire, a stronghold which would later become the capital of Theramore. In the year 433, the first governing body of Theramore is formed. It was decreed that a lifetime chancellor would be elected to represent the will of the people. He was given the highest authority, and has a council of 12 advisors, known as the Grand Scholars, serve with him. 433. Chancellor Mar is elected for the as the first governor of Theramore. Under his leadership, Theramore establishes the Commonwealth Guard, which becomes the turning point in the war with the Orakur. 444. The Orakur are suppressed and driven deep on the ground. Underground. Chancellor Mar declares victory in the war. The Orakur disappear completely. Many assume the whole populace must have succumbed to disease or starvation. Dwarven lords from outside Theramore condemned Chancellor Mar for his unethical warfare tactics. The relationship between the race of dwarves and men are fractured. 471. Chancellor Mar dies after 36 years of distinguished service. Chancellor Mar II, later known as the Great One, supersedes his father as Chancellor. This officially begins the Golden Age of expansion and prosperity for Theramore. 509. Chancellor Taurus I supersedes Chancellor Mar II, and in 537, Chancellor Katera I supersedes Chancellor Taurus I. There is an entry here that has been blacked out by ink. Oh, really? Okay. What would be blacked out by ink there? I mean, it would have to be a change in chancellorship, right? I guess. I don't know. Let's see. 590. Goblin skirmishes arise in Krakamir. The Chancellor, unwilling to squander resources defending a wasteland, concedes Krakamir to the goblins. Elsewhere in Theramore, the Commonwealth Guard is successful in eliminating the goblin threat. In 627, a devastating earthquake shakes the eastern province, tearing rifts into the land. The Orakur, long believed to have been decimated, reappear from the great fissures. Surveyors who spot them claim they appeared skittish and non-hostile, elusive, and rarely seen above ground. The reappearance of the Orakur is not considered a threat, and are all but forgotten. The timeline ends here, though it looks like the following page may have been ripped from the book. Huh. You know, that's very interesting, in fact. That wasn't nearly as boring as I thought it would be. It's full of intrigue and shit. Okay, so let's bring out our map here. So the Great Rift with Grimhold and Krakamir, both of those are the result of some great underground force. And the Orakur, I don't know. They don't seem to be they don't seem to be hostile. At least they're never labeled as such. One would think that in a historical document, presumably written by the victors of a conflict, the Orakur would be labeled as, you know, vile beings of demonic intent or whatever the fuck, right? Well, it's certainly interesting. I don't think we quite have enough material here for a full episode, so I will do, although I did announce that. Alright, listen, this will be a short episode. When we come back, I want to check out the Whistling Cave We should be able to lockpick the door now that we were unable to lockpick previously. And maybe we get to use this executioner axe to cleave some remaining wasps. Who knows? So yes, thank you for watching another episode of Let's Play Eschalon Book 1. And see you next time. I'll travel to the Whistling Cave off screen. You know, just to cut down on the aimless, or not aimless, but, you know, walking around thing. So yeah, see you then.